race fans, and welcome to Laguna Seca, the virtual Monterey, California, here in the West Coast of the United States. We continue our West Coast swing along with the real-life IndyCar series, and so glad to have you along with us here for round 14 of 15 of the IndyCar iRacing series in 2021. You're watching live VirtualRacing.Network's uninterrupted commercial-free coverage of the IndyCar iRacing series, and so glad to have you with us here in the channel on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. You get lots more IndyCar and other action coming up soon on VirtualRacing.Network. But today, right now, we're going to be doing 68 laps of battle here at Laguna Seca, famous IndyCar circuit, of course, used by many different series over the years. So many different winners here. IMSA, IndyCar, Trans Am, you go down the list, they've been here. But right now it's Adam Crane, your series defending champion and leader at the moment, who is on track for qualifying for today's event. So let's go ahead and hop down trackside, see if we can catch some of the action as he starts to get through his initial warm-up lap, and soon we'll be starting his first qualifying lap. Of course, it's been a long journey for Adam Crane this season. Been some definite up and down races as we get into the second to last race here of the season for 2021. But Adam has been on point every single week and has won many of the week's races that we've been showing here on Broadcast Friday. But he has not been undefeatable. Let's put it that way. I don't know the correct exact term to use, but it has not been a perfect 14 races or 13 races thus far for Adam Crane, and so he'll be looking to get a great qualifying effort in today and not repeat a couple of the races where he did have to start sort of mid-pack, work his way forward, or start at the back of the pack, work his way forward. So if we can jump on board for a moment on the roll hoop of Crane as he flies around the track. We have many great drivers joining us today. Laura Gearhart's in the field. Dennis Fritz is back. Robin Glennick's championship contender is in the field. So we have Adam Crane now completing his first lap, about to put in the first timed lap thus far. Actually, Andreas Ike beating him to that punch, a 107.31 for Ike. And that actually puts Adam Crane third with a 107.88. Andrew Marquez now, one of our championship contenders, coming in with a lap that's good enough for fifth thus far, 108.44. So, as I was mentioning, a number of great drivers coming back. We've seen Andreas Ike numerous races throughout this season on Broadcast Friday. It's been great to have a great competitor like Andreas joining us. He's involved in so many different series. And so right now, currently sitting on pole, another familiar name who is currently sitting in the second position, Moritz Hengelhop, back for another round today. Great to hear. And now Christian Otarola now making an appearance in the IndyCar iRacing series here on Broadcast Friday, popping up into the second position. Looking good for Christian. Adam Crane, though, with that second lap, will take over a 106.86. And the time we're actually looking to beat the qualifying world record, if possible, for this season would be a 106.49. I'm not sure if anyone is going to get a chance to do that. Valentin Hameret joining us this week now puts in the second fastest time. Christian Otarola now on his second of 2 laps. Moritz Hengelhop not able to improve on his second lap. Andrew Marquez now done, currently sitting in 6th. Will Lyon, Prime Meridian Racing League champion for the first season. He'll be back for season 2, now slotting into 7th place at the moment. Just finished his second lap. Matthias Kraus, championship leading driver. He's actually in second place in the championship, trying to hang on to that second place. He's up there in 6th place right now. Christian moves into the 3rd spot. Will Lyon still sitting, according to our software, somewhere on track. Andreas Ike is still just actually finishing his 2nd lap there. Well, now shown in 4th spot. So the Norwegian driver now right up there in that top 5, ready to attack for today's race. Cesar Manzato had a great race on Wednesday. Cesar climbing up in the points, which we'll be going over here in just a moment. But Cesar had a great race on Wednesday. Don't actually have the results. Or do I have it in front of me? No, I don't have the result in front of me right now, but I believe he got 3rd on Wednesday's race. That was about a 2,700 strength of field. So let's take a look at the weather. 101 degrees on the track. Not much breeze through the air. And just about 70 degrees in the ambient. So not too bad. Not going to do too much damage to these tires over the long run. That's about what it was this week in the Indy Open Series. And also did the Indy Elite race with my team this last week, Last Lap Motorsports, and had exactly the same conditions. So everybody kind of on an equal playing field. Those drivers who would have developed their setups and cars already this week for the other series, pretty much getting to use exactly the same thing. Not a terrible swing between the different series this week in terms of track temperature or anything like that. So currently, Adam Crane, your pole sitter, I think Andreas Ike is definitely done with his qualifying. He's going to be bringing it into the pits. Julien Pastor, Martinez Pastor, coming in here at in 13th place, his qualifying effort. And we also have Laszlo Szabo on the track. Fun name to say. Love it that you're here, Laszlo. Laszlo getting in their first lap at the moment and deciding to pull it into the pits. So exactly right. We'll have 49 seconds remaining until the end of this one. I think Andreas Ike is going to give us enough chance to maybe pull up the points and start talking about that. Bring that up on screen while he is continuing around to show off his paint job, and the Team Talent driver relishing in these 5th place qualifying efforts. Cesar Manzato, by the way, finishing in 3rd spot there in the qualifying effort. So it'll be an interesting grid, which we'll get to here just a moment as they begin gridding. Adam Crane, your points leader, as you see on screen, pretty much untouchable at this point. There's just really not a way for anybody to improve, so we'll save the congratulations for this week or for next week. But Matthias Kraus, you know, again, it would have to be a monumental effort from Cesar Manzato. I'm talking like maybe 2 wins in a row for him to, and he is probably the only driver that has a chance to do this, but he would need to climb and get that 2nd place position. And really, Cesar Manzato, I think, is the only one that can do that. Now, you can see how close the points are there in 3rd and 4th place between Andrew Marquez, and who is in the race today, as well as Cesar Manzato. So everybody showing up here in the top of in the top 5 positions to defend their place in the championship today, which is excellent. You see Robin Glennox there in 5th as well. The points are very tight between Cesar Manzato and Andrew Marquez. And it does look like if Cesar Manzato is simply to finish this race as it stands, he would take over the 3rd spot in the standings. However, Andrew Marquez likely has a couple of results in those 12 weeks that have been counted that he could improve upon. So if Marquez has a great race today, which he qualified in 8th place, he does have a shot at maintaining that 3rd spot. And of course, Adam Crane is your Canadian points leader. Matthias Kraus from Germany, and from Bavaria, I apologize. and Andrew Marquez, the top driver from the United States. And so depends on where you're at and who you're rooting for, but that should give you a nice breakdown on where we're at with the championship. Henry Bennett and Hugo Olsson, after really great starts to their season, not able to follow up and finish the season, perhaps conceding and moving on to other things, but have not raced since that 8th week, and so essentially conceding not only the victory but many positions in the championships, to others. But we've got a great field with us today. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the official starting grid for today's race? It's going to be Adam Crane on the pole, as you can see. Terrific time, 106 in the 106s there, 106.8. Valentin Hemeret in second place, brand new to Broadcast Friday. We're going to be doing an entire pace lap here, so we have a couple of moments to chat. Cesar Manzato in third, and Christian Otarola, brand new driver to Broadcast Friday, showing up in fourth place. Andreas Eick will be starting in the third row next to Moritz Hengelhop. In the fourth row, we've got Matthias Kraus, championship contender, back here again today, and Andrew Marquez. Will Lyon in ninth place, as you can see, alongside of Eric Traiano, another great name in the IndyCar world. Great to see Eric coming back for another Broadcast Friday. And Dennis Fritz alongside of Patrick Silvassi. Silvassi, another name, brand new, that we have not been seeing. So Julian Pastor in 13th, starting next to Fabian Massey. Rob Unglenix, championship contender, once again not quite getting in that qualifying effort that he'd like. He's got to defend that 5th position. Starting next to Dylan Razol. Laura Gerhardt starting in 17th next to Juan Chirinos. And Laszlo Szabo starting next to Rafael Creek. So once again, love to welcome all of you watching live over on our YouTube chat room. Pleasure having you with us right now. Thomas Christensen giving us a wave, rooting on, I'm sure, Three Crowns Racing teammates in the field. Though I'm not really sure who is in the field of Three Crowns Racing this week. I'd have to take another look through, but I don't see anybody. But anyway, great to have you, Thomas, as always, every week. We look up at the front. It's Adam Crane who's going to get us going here.
Green.
And we are green here at Laguna Seca. The real-life IndyCars are here too, but we get it first. It's the IndyCar iRacing Series right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Adam Crane leads into turn 1, no problem. It's Valentin who maintains second place, and it's Christian Otarola who has slid off the top positions, has been sliding back, suffering an issue there on the start. It's Cesar Manzato who's maintaining third place. Andreas Eick up that one spot thus far, as Christian has already started dropping back in the order. Andreas Eick currently in fourth, as I mentioned. Moritz Hengelhop in fifth. So it's looking a little tight from second on back. We'll see if anybody wants to try to make a move through the corkscrew there. A couple of drivers getting very close. Andreas Eick struggling a little bit. We have news that Julian Martinez Pastor has gone off track and perhaps had a crash, and also Eric Traiano. There you see on your screen. We don't want to leave this battle quite yet. Andreas Eick getting off track there for a moment and bringing it back on. Laszlo Szabo also having an off track. Patrick Silvazzi has come off the track and now is in the pits. We will try to get to, we have another note. Eric Traiano continuing to have problems, slipping away off the track at the moment. So a lot of action early on. Thus far at the front, still Adam Crane in charge. Valentin Hemeret still in second place. Cesar Manzato in third. Andreas Eick holding down fourth. Moritz Hengelhop in fifth. Matthias Kraus, your second place in the points, in sixth place. Nobody choosing to go with the black primary tire here, just FYI for everyone. Will Lyon, 8th place. Dennis Fritz in 9th. And unfortunately, for those of you rooting for the SCOWRS team, and Andrew Marquez, the New Jersey native, he's unfortunately, he slid back now to 10th. Lost a couple of spots there on that opening couple of laps. And so Adam Crane, now still your leader, and has set the fastest lap of 1:08.41. As we look back, it looks like it's starting to line up a little bit single file here. We can take a look back at some of these incidents that have already passed. Here's what caught out Julian Martinez Pastor. And there you see, tagged from the back. Tough to tell exactly who made contact, but numerous cars getting involved there. I believe that's where Eric Troiano probably had an off. And you can see, yes, indeed, there is Eric Troiano in the red, white, and black car. So all of these drivers getting involved. I believe that also involving, and there you see Troiano still continuing to deal with trying to get that car back. Patrick Silvassi at that point had already crashed. And we also had Dylan Reisel, who went off track. Recently, we just had Julian Carlos Alca Chinos has gone off track. I think this is just coming back. Yes, this is just trying to exit the pits. This is something that if you haven't done that yet, you probably haven't raced on this track, because it's so easy. It's like the easiest pit exit in the world to blow as a driver. So yeah, it's really difficult. You have to get the car slowed down so much so that you can turn, and the cars don't necessarily have the amount of turning radius that you need to make that Andretti hairpin corner. So when you're in the pit lane there, so extremely easy to push deep, and then you end up right on the regular track. Fortunately, there was no leaders there, nobody else coming by to collect him as he drifted out onto the dirt. But as you can see, Adam Crane now approaching turn 1. If that driver had come right out right now, that would collect one of these other drivers. So that is something to watch out for, something to be aware of, and certainly as we're talking here, we had a close moment here. This was Matthias Kraus going down the inside of Andreas Eick, taking advantage of a momentary opportunity. So move Matthias Kraus up into 5th. Championship contender he is, putting some moves on some very talented drivers, making his way forward. Back up to the lead, it's Adam Crane. Championship leading driver. Won the series last year. As I said, unofficially, I cannot figure out a way that he would lose this championship, but the VRS satellite racing team driver has made a name for himself. I was just mentioning this morning that I realized there was no official fireworks or trophy presentation, but you are looking at the 2021 Season 3 Indy Open champion, Adam Crane. And for him to pull off possibly both of these IndyCar championships in the same season is a phenomenal thing. We'll have to get our crack research team on it to see if that has been accomplished before, but whether it has or it hasn't, we can't really pass enough superlatives towards the driver from Ottawa, Canada, who, is not part of a super mega team, although satellite racing is definitely growing and has a great amount of capability. It's just amazing to see, frequently week in and week out, only one driver represented from VRS satellite racing in these championships, and it's just Adam Crane, and he's able to win races and hold his own against every other competitor each and every week. And of course, that's been the story here on Broadcast Friday. We've seen so many great performances from Adam Crane. Just ultra smooth and rarely makes a mistake. he's one of those drivers that's next to impossible to beat, and you would have to look for the right opportunity on the right day to do it. That being said, there are some drivers who have gotten the better of Adam, and so that's what makes it exciting for all of us, is can Adam do that perfect Michael Schumacher-esque, Lewis Hamilton-esque just drive of magnificence each and every week, or will he show his human side and occasionally make a mistake? That is a question. But on pure pace, it's been next to impossible for anybody to top Adam Crane. So let's talk about somebody else other than Adam for a minute. We've got this brand new driver from France, Valentin Hemeray, joining us. Beautiful green and black paint job. A little bit of chrome in there. Qualified second, hanging on to second. Slipped back about 3 seconds on leader Adam Crane as we get on to lap 8 here. Probably thinking about longer term strategy, how to manage those tires, etc. So as you can see there on your screen, see if we can maybe put the top speed in there. That might help to imagine some of what's helping these drivers, but these top speeds are measured on the track, and it might give you an idea why some drivers are maybe a little bit faster, carrying a little less downforce, getting better run out of a corner, or perhaps tacking on a bit more downforce and maybe using a little bit more cornering speed, but not carrying as much speed down the straight. So in third place, we've got Cesar Manzato, and you can see there I believe that is not Maura Tengelhop directly behind. Actually, it is Maura Tengelhop. I'm sorry, I had a different driver livery in mind for Moritz, so Moritz must have changed recently. But Cesar Manzato there just up by 0.7 of a second or over Moritz Engelhop, the Berliner. And Cesar is currently, as I said, on a tear in the championship, trying to, I mean, let's face it, he really does have to get second place or first place to be awarded maximum amount of points and have a chance at this thing. I'm no expert in how, in how the iRacing point system works exactly. I've tried to think of ways that we could predict that. I'm sure many have. And if you know out there, let us know so that we can figure out a way that we can make this work. Hey, Don Day, thank you so much for joining us over in the chat room. Appreciate you stopping by. And Rodrigo Franzoni, thank you for dropping by. Pleasure to have you joining us here for this IndyCar broadcast. I hope wherever you're at and what you're doing today it's going to be a little bit more special because you get to see some IndyCars here, the very best of the international iRacing IndyCar drivers taking to one of the most famous circuits here, Laguna Seca. I grew up in California myself. I've been to this track many times, going back over the years, and for me it's a special place, as are all of the California West Coast tracks, of course. But anytime you get Laguna Seca on a Friday and you got great action, great IndyCars on track, what more could you want? As we watch Cesar Manzato, and of course, if you want to see the real-life IndyCars, they will be practicing, I believe, this afternoon in about 3 hours. So hopefully they're all sitting on their couches right now and in their motorhomes and with their teams all huddled around watching the IndyCar iRacing series right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Moritz Engelhop hanging in there in fourth. He's up 2 spots today already in this first stint, so I know that's Moritz is a dangerous driver in terms of if you're in front of him, because he is fast. He is a very fast driver. He's shown all kinds of pace. As we look back and we see a 3-way battle now happening between Andreas Eick, Christian Otarola has recovered, and Will Lyon. Look at this gaggle of drivers. 1, 2, 3. And they're down the inside. It's Oterola trying the inside and not able to pull it off on the outside. It's Will Lyon as they head up the hill. Looking at Andreas Eick there, who maintains his lead. We look out the back at Will Lyon. As I mentioned, recently crowned PMRL champion, Will Lyon. Now doing battle in a number of other series now that he doesn't have the PMRL weekly race. You see on board Will Lyon's livery. He has Ian Bell on the nose. Perhaps that's good luck. Go back to Will Lyon. We can take a look at that nose. Can't quite see Ian Bell down there, but it is there. And on the side pod project cars, that's a project that Will Lyon and his teammate Matthew Levine and deeply involved with. And they always talk about how that sim seems to prepare them for iRacing. I don't know if that's truly tongue-in-cheek or what, but whatever Will Lyon is doing might be something for others to investigate doing, because he is very quick and obviously just won a championship. So nevertheless, great to have him as well as Christian Oterola with us today. The number 10 card today. Christian was up in the starting up in 4th spot, but slid back on that start, having a couple of issues early on, and so now finds himself back in 8th place. Just behind him, we got Dennis Fritz coming back. He had the beautiful black paint job last week. Now back to the more traditional red and white. Looks great. It's like one of those classic, paint jobs that that IndyCar has had here over the years. One of those great names, one of those great sponsors. You just love to see back in IndyCar full time. Andrew Marquez right now hanging on in 10th. Now I'm sure this is just not the day that Andrew would like. He's now running 110s. He is on the primary tire. I'm sorry, on the alternate tire. But yeah, running 110s, it does seem as though Andrew perhaps suffering damage in one of those earlier incidents. Really unfortunate. So back to the leader, Adam Crane. Just putting in the laps right now. This has been pretty much what he does. Just puts in those laps each and every week. As you can see, they're significantly faster than MRA each and every lap. MRA last time a 110.03, Adam Crane a 109.59, as you can see there on your screen. So that lead now up to 5.8 seconds. But the main thing is you can't take your foot off the throttle for even a second if you're Adam Crane. This is our visor cam, one of our new cameras we've introduced here, VirtualRacing.Network. And just playing around with things, having fun, trying to give you a driver's eye view of what it's like to pilot one of these Dallara R14 Indy cars at upwards of 200 miles an hour on this straightaway. Actually upwards of about 180 or so. Into that tight Andretti hairpin. Really difficult right-handers here, very medium to high speed. Got to carry some really good balance so that the car doesn't over or under rotate. Here, same thing. You really need a very balanced car heading up the hill. This is one of the sketchiest corners on the track. Easy to get it wrong there and go flying off the right-hand side. The corkscrew setting up for is just infamous. You see a lot of dirt on the track kicked up by the other cars. So easy to get it wrong there, not quite time it right. As you can see, Adam Crane Looks like he's on rails out there. In fact, he is on rails. Wait a minute, he's not driving at all. No, it's an AI driver. Haha, you've all been fooled. But no, it is Adam Crane. He's just that good. He really is that good and consistent, and that is what you need to do if you're going to win championships. We talk about it every single week, this series, other series. You've got to be consistent each and every lap, not put a wheel off. You know, the mistakes you want to make, if you're going to make any, have to be extremely minor so that you can minimize the amount of lap time loss, and you can focus on optimizing each and every lap from obviously not only just going faster or going as fast as you can with the car, but then optimizing things like the pit in procedure, the pit out procedure, making sure that your overtakes are well timed, timing your gaps up to the next driver, but also to, you know, watching the relative timing on your screen and making sure that you time your overtakes on lap traffic as well. A lot of different strategy goes into piloting one of these cars, even if you're seemingly driving by yourself some hot laps out there like Adam Crane is doing right now, as he has no real challengers on the track at the moment. However, Adam Crane that time by a 109.50, and indeed Cesar Manzato slightly faster. Now we take a look back here as Cesar Manzato begins to close in on second place, Valentin Hamare, and Cesar is, as you can see, they're slowly making up time. Actually, it would be helpful if they let's change that around. There we go. Now you can see Manzato compared to Hamare. And Hamare, they're getting it a little crossed up through the corkscrew. Slow now on the track. Manzato not overly aggressive. There decides to make the move. Did Hamare come into the pits? No, he did not. And Manzato now has Hangelhop right on his rear as we head down the start-finish straightaway here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Working on lap 18, Adam Crane is, but just 8 seconds behind. This battle has erupted. Valentin Hamare, a driver we have not been seeing here on Broadcast Friday, slowly losing the grip on that Dallara IR18 and slipping back now from second to fourth as the more experienced, perhaps, in the IndyCar driver, Cesar Manzato, now moves into second place. And as I mentioned, with Andrew Marquez now dropping back into 10th, this will have some definite championship implications. Certainly, Andrew is going to hold on, as you know, for dear life in that 10th place position, because he cannot really afford to give up much more points this week. As I said, Matthias Kraus is part of that battle as well. Matthias is kind of went a little too far there. You see Andreas Eich and Will Lyon just behind, but Matthias Kraus holding his own up in 5th, up 2 spots so far. So he's doing, I think, everything that he needs to today. I don't think he needs better than maybe a top 5, possibly even back to a top 10. I haven't done the full math on it, but Matthias would need at least a top 10 to stay assured that he's going to hang on to that second place spot in the points going forward. Otherwise, it's going to get really crazy going into our final round at Long Beach next week. So just to recap where we're at, we'll go back to the front. It's Adam Crane, who is pretty much lapping by himself at the moment. He's up 8 seconds on your second place driver now, Cesar Manzato, who has just come forward in this stint as we get to the end of this green flag stint. Cesar, as I mentioned, now second. So Hengelhop now shown in third spot, drifting just a little bit back off of the tail of Manzato. He was very close a moment ago. Hamare appears to have recovered, and we'll see whether Valentin can climb back up there and challenge Hengelhop. Meanwhile, you can see just down the road, it is Matthias Kraus, and Matthias is not quite closing in on Hamare, but he is turning respectable times, a 1:10.20 that time by for Kraus. Will Lyon drifting, actually no, not drifting back, he's actually managed to overtake. We'll see if we can find it here, but does appear as though, yes, Will Lyon has overtaken Andreas Eick. See if we can get a replay of that. There we go. So just coming through the corkscrew, and Eick doing a reverse Alex Zanardi impersonation, going off track through the center part of the corkscrew and drifting back behind Will Lyon. Lyon, that's how he did it in the PMRL, and frankly, you know, he's someone who it's tough to rattle Will Lyon, that's for sure, but he sure seems to know how to get others to finally get rattled. And I've seen that happen a couple of times with some different drivers. He's solid driver from Scotland. Pleasure to have him here. Does say 2 times iRacing Endurance LMS champion, LMP1. But you can also add IndyCar champion to his name. And by the way, you know, if you want to challenge in the PMRL, October is the start of the second season. Great time to throw your hat in the ring and head on over to iRacing. Go ahead and apply to the PMRL, Prime Meridian Racing League. They race on Wednesdays. And let's see, it's like 12:30 here, so that's 3:30 East Coast time. So if that works for you, Wednesdays, 3:30 East Coast time. Great group of drivers. They're just recruiting for season 2, and you'll get your chance to try to throw a block or throw a move at Will Lyon there. As we can see, Hamare now in the pits taking service. What did we just see a moment ago? I saw a little bit of action there on the screen. Matthias Kraus hanging tight. Will Lyon, as I mentioned, in 5th, and then Andreas Eick hanging in on into 6th. Christian Otarola has tried to recover and try to get past these drivers, and there Eick almost getting it off track. These two drivers now side by side. Otarola now squeaks through, and Eick is going to have to regroup after that one. That was almost, he almost lost that one. That was very, very close, but Eick continuing on and indeed going to stop in for some new tires. We'll see if anybody decides to switch over to the black tires. That was a potential strategy, as we've noticed a lot of convergence. You see Matthias Kraus ahead of Andreas Eick there in the pit lane. We did notice a lot of convergence in lap times in the earlier races, but I think we're going to have to wait until it's a little hotter on track to see black tires become a preferred strategy. That being said, as you more or less hopefully know by now, the Dallara IR18 IndyCar's road tire was completely updated recently, and so as a result, it has sent all of these teams and drivers scrambling to update their setups, as we see leader Adam Crane now diving into the pits, getting that car slowed up as quick as possible. And Cesar Manzato from 2nd coming in. See the gap there to Adam Crane. Moritz Hengelhop now pitting from 3rd as well. So, indeed, Adam now taking service, and that will hand over the lead to Will Lyon. Once again, proving that he has incredible ability to find his way to the front. I don't know if he has the pace to possibly get up onto the podium again today, but it would sure be a tremendous thing to see him win the championship and then come over to the IndyCar iRacing series and get podiums 2 weeks in a row. Nevertheless, he sticks around in first for the moment. If this were a league race, he'd be getting points for leading those laps, but that's not how iRacing does it. Yeah, so the tire update dropping this last week. And by the way, why don't we also put the track map up there so that Gail H., wherever she's at, can really enjoy the track map. You know, occasionally she's dropping by. Definitely Puzzled Monkey stopping by, letting us know Crane is at a different level. I mean, there's no doubt there is that different level. We used to call them aliens, but so many of these drivers are so fast that they are aliens as well. So these are super aliens. And I occasionally get times in that may rival some of these guys and girls and ladies and everyone else. But anybody who has done something like that understands it's a really different thing to occasionally be able to get as fast as these super alien drivers like Adam Crane and, you know, Adam Blocker, Brandon Treno. You go through the list, it's a very short list of elite drivers. But it doesn't mean that I can do what these drivers can do, race in and race out, week in and week out. And a lot of these drivers, they do commit so much time to racing that they are able to really focus on their craft. Here, Will Lyon getting by Matthias Kraus for 5th. So, wow, just cutting by on the exit of the pits. Really heads up by both drivers. As you see, Kraus now getting by, pushing off Will Lyon. This as Will Lyon exited the pits and Matthias Kraus on hot tires. An amazing defense from Will Lyon, and yet Matthias Kraus overtaking that position. I mean, there's a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. I did not see that level of aggression and that level necessarily of skilled overtaking earlier in the season from Matthias Kraus, but he has really evolved over this season. We've seen more and more great racing from Matthias, and that's a perfect example, taking the fight right to champion Will Lyon. Of course, the Lion was basically a sitting duck, if you'll forgive the pun, but he was on those cold tires exiting the pits. He really did not have much of a chance. Nevertheless, it was fun to watch for a minute. And that's, you know, again, that's part of what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, Rob Unglennick's having a moment here and spinning at the Corkscrew Championship, leading driver in the top 5. That is one of those easy things to do at the Corkscrew. Just get it a little wrong. It's going to cost you a little bit of time, but fortunately, I don't think any underside damage. So, but yes, iRacing dropped that tire update in the middle of the IndyCar iRacing Series season, forcing all of these drivers to really have to seek shelter. And it's a big update. It's a very, very big update that has changed so many components and how their responses are on these cars, that it's really forced a lot of rethink of total philosophy. I'm talking like rakes, rake angles, downforce percentages, ride heights. Everything needs adjustments, and because the tires, their characteristics have changed so dramatically, it's basically turned into a whole new race car to drive. And there's a lot of drivers that are very happy with it, and a lot of drivers that are just kind of semi-pleased with it. I think one of the things that you can do now that you couldn't do before as the 18 car there looked like he was pulling out of the way. In fact, he is pulling out of the way for Valentin Hamare and Cesar Manzato in tow, with Laura Tengelhop there just behind. But as we watch them continue to go around, yeah, it's got to really adapt. Sometimes these updates, they say they're minor, but they're actually major. Sometimes they say tire update, and it's not just a tire update. It's that tire update means you have to update everything. And so drivers like Adam Crane responding very, very well. Some of these drivers really working well, but we've also seen a lot of drivers who in the different series have not done quite as well. Perhaps, and I want to be too frank, but I'm just saying perhaps exposed for some different ways in which they were developing their setups that no longer work. And that does bring to light some different things that I could talk about. And since it's our show, I guess we can do that. I mean, there's always a question of things like cheating, etc., you know, grip hacks and that kind of thing. I think that's a very rare thing, and I think iRacing has probably done a very good job to observe that. However, there is always different ways that it's not cheating, but it's utilizing, you know, the same rules and technical specs and things that others are forced to use, and so you use them to your advantage. And I think that iRacing has made a very large effort in the last 6 months to squash all of these things that are kind of, you know, I don't want to say hacks, but they are ways of going outside of what might work in real life to get some extra performance advantages here in the sim. And so what you end up with is some very odd-looking setups that would never work in real life. And I think iRacing became aware of that, and not only have they tried to actually fix those, but they've also tried introducing better setups, and I think that has really, really helped. There you can see Dylan Reisall going off track in the background. Number 12 car was hanging with these leaders for a minute and then had a little off track, but the Americans back underway. So this is a tight battle here as we watch Cesar Manzata trying to inch his way forward to Valentin, but Moritz Hengelhop hanging on to this group, and we'll just have to see what one of these drivers can shake out here going forward to the end of this race, as we are still not yet halfway. This is kind of a long race today, 68 laps. It is, you know, it's well over an hour's worth of racing. Compare and contrast that to last night's Indy Fix Series, which was just about 45 to 50 minutes worth of racing around the Kentucky Oval, which we broadcasted for the first week, the first time here on VirtualRacing.Network. If you missed it, it was a really, really good race. Some great participation from a bunch of top teams, and ended up being the highest strength of field race of the week thus far. So pretty exciting championship implications out of that race. But as we look at Matthias Kraus, he's now got Will Lyon in tow, and it may not be long until that Will Lyon Ian Bell chrome horn comes a-calling on Matthias. We shall see. That's not really Will's style, don't get me wrong. Just always funny how Ian Bell seems to have his nose in other people's business. Okay, I'm done joking around. Will Lyon looking forward. PMRL champ now got his sights set on Matthias Kraus, and you know, this is another championship that perhaps Will circle on his calendar for 2022, as of course we just have the one race remaining here in the IndyCar iRacing series for 2021, and there will not be another IndyCar iRacing series this year. The official series is designed to shadow the real life series, and so every week that the real life IndyCar series is out there racing, then this series is out there racing. And of course we don't have every single track. There are rumors that perhaps Portland will make its way into iRacing, and some of the other facilities that the series visits, such as Toronto, unfortunately being canceled for this year. But we do know that some of these other tracks are under review from iRacing to see whether we can get them scanned in the series. But on the weeks where it does fit, like Laguna Seca, for the same cars, the same tracks to be out there, that's what we do. And for the weeks where we don't have that track, we try to match it with really similar track. So Portland was, of course, Road Atlanta. And here we are at Laguna Seca, and those Indy cars are probably getting fired up on pit lane right now, or getting fired up in the garages right now. So stay tuned in a couple of hours over on Peacock and catch that action. But in the meantime, we're just coming up to halfway, just one more lap, and we will be at halfway. We've got Eric Troiano, who's come into the pits a couple of times, so suffering there. Jump back out of the car here. See if you can find some more action here. We got Andreas Eick with Christian Otarola just behind. It seemed like just a moment ago it was Will Lyon behind, and Andreas Eick, unfortunately, suffering that issue in the Team Talent machine up at the corkscrew. But once again, hanging on, and that's been Andreas Eick's biggest calling card that I've seen out of him from the races that we've been covering. He's maybe still struggling for a little bit of that consistency that Adam Crane has, but he manages to hang on, and he manages to be there at the end of races, and a lot of times that puts him in the perfect position to take advantage of a race win. We've seen certainly some fantastic finishes and great moves by Andreas Eick over the races here at VirtualRacing.Network. So Eric Troiano deciding to jump back to the pits after not, I think, getting his car completely fixed. Fabian Massey, unfortunately, Fabian having a spin there at the corkscrew, brings it back on. No real harm, no foul. And yeah, there's still some stuff that's fixed and some stuff that's not fixed with this Indy car. And that list is, it's getting shorter and shorter all the time, as far as what's not fixed. What's fixed, you know, some different advantage things that they've done to fix, obviously, as I just mentioned in the setups. But in addition, they've added 3 tire sets that are available on ovals this season. So that is going to really affect these drivers on the longer ovals, especially in the Indy Open series. And we're basically done with all of our ovals here in the IndyCar iRacing series. But when we get to next season, that will be a huge factor for sure, as we do have quite long oval races. So just 3 tire sets is a new rule. And then in addition, as well as all of the tire updates that have happened, there's been a recent change to the tire compounds for a couple of different oval races and improve their grip. One of those being Motegi, which was a problem in the past with no ability to pass. And it's a very wide oval track. And so with no ability to pass, it's just a shame because you're basically running single file the entire race. So iRacing once again has listened and decided to develop a better tire for Motegi that allows side-by-side racing. So little improvements that are coming. Some things that perhaps are not yet fixed is this pit lane bug that I've been telling everybody about that does not seem to quite be fixed yet. And it is where essentially if you have crash damage, steering damage, for example, if you come in, it does not get completely repaired. And so you're driving a partially repaired car, and that's no good because you have to pull it back in and try and get it fixed again. And a lot of times it still doesn't get fully fixed. Apparently, if you do tow it back to the pits, it does get fully fixed. I don't know all of the limits or not of what makes that happen. That's for iRacing to know, but it's just one of those nagging things that continues to happen to a lot of drivers, and I would not be surprised if we saw, for example, Eric Troiano needing to do exactly that, because we've seen this same pattern over and over again where a driver comes into the pits to get their car fixed and then can't get it fixed and ends up needing to use this procedure to tow back to the pits to get it fixed. So yeah, it's a ever-evolving platform. Nothing is perfect, but at the end of my State of the Union address, I have to say iRacing, it is in great shape, and the IndyCar here continues to get better and better. With this new tire model, I think it's a really enjoyable car to drive. So now that I've managed to kill a few laps while we're waiting for more action here on the track, let's jump back to this battle, which has gotten even tighter. This is for 5th. It's Matthias Kraus with Will Lyon just behind. And Matthias right now is counting the hairs on Ian Bell's head, of which there are, I guess, none. But Will Lyon trying to work something, trying to perhaps pressure Matthias Kraus, which again, one thing I can't say has been really a characteristic of Kraus this season has been getting pressured and going off track. I don't think, just like Will, I don't think he's as susceptible to that kind of thing, but you never know. Will's got to do just about anything he can to get by. It does look like Matthias is holding great lap times out there today, doing 109.67 at the same time that Adam Crane is doing a 109.85. So these drivers, even though they've slipped back now 22 seconds, still holding time with the leader. And once again, I'd like to welcome all of you who might have been joining us a little bit later, watching the IndyCar iRacing series right here on VirtualRacing.Network. It's a pleasure to have you. And we've been covering this series all season long, so if you want to go back and catch any of the races that you missed, and there were a lot of great ones, let me tell you, it would be a good thing to go back and watch. Early in the season, of course, we had some of the really great battles going on between Adam Crane and Hugo Olsson, Henry Bennett out of Team Power Slide. And over the course of the season, we've seen some drivers like David Toth, very fantastically skilled driver from GT and Le Mans prototype racing, and bring that talent over and actually win a race. And of course, we've seen numerous drivers as Matthias Kraus gets it a little too deep into the Andretti hairpin. Strong lockup there coming from the front tires on the familiar green, white, and red machine from racing history. So Matthias possibly starting to struggle with those Firestones. And Matthias there going wide, struggling. Will Lyon, we're on board with. They're now side by side down the straight. Will Lyon on the button. Matthias Kraus not answering with the button. Lyon first into turn one. Looks like he'll take over that spot. So the button paying off there. Surprised Matthias did not respond. Perhaps he's trying to meet a certain fuel number, or save those pushes for the very end. But let's give you a little rundown, since we don't really have a graphic that does this, unfortunately, hoping that we can either figure one out or our software people will make one available to us. But push to pass, currently Adam Crane has 10 push to pass remaining, so all of his push to passes were still remaining for the champion in first with a over 18-second lead. Valentin Hamare currently with 7 push to passes in second. Cesar Manzato 5. Moritz Hingelhop with 7. Cesar actually on the button here, heading down the start-finish straight. Going to take that down to 4 pushes remaining. and making a very late lunge on Valentin, hanging in there really tight. Close quarters racing here between Manzato and Hamare. And of course, as I mentioned, Manzato, I think, really racing like he does understand the point situation. The North Sim Racing Team driver from Italy really doing what needs to be done. Unfortunately, there is the Frenchman Hamare in front. This is one of those weeks where Cesar, I'm sure, is saying, where did this guy come from? Never seen this guy in one of these races before. I don't know that that's true. I actually don't pay total attention to everybody who races each and every one of the races in IndyCar iRacing series. So Hamare may have been racing in some of the other splits that we don't broadcast. Nevertheless, Hamare, the number 8 car here, really showing well. Hanging with drivers with well over 1,000 more iRating than him. Very tight battle there, so keep an eye on that as we look back through the rest of the field. Of course, there is Moritz Engelhop sitting in 4th. This is not exactly the same light speed performance that we saw at Engelhop at the Indy Grand Prix this year, but nevertheless, he's hanging in 4th spot. And so, I mean, what do you really need to do? He's got 7 push-to passes remaining, and I think, as we can see, Cesar Manzato getting a tiny bit of lock there, and Manzato now getting by Hamare. Hamare tries to get back on the outside, and he does. Can he hold it? He does hold it. Cesar Manzato back to the inside. Engelhop aligning himself. And as they exit the corner, it's Manzato who loses out to Engelhop. So just like that, we were just talking about it. That's how quickly things change. Now Manzato, who looked like he was going to overtake Hamare, chose a difficult time to do that, and as such has put Engelhop not only in place to now go up and challenge 2nd place, but now Will Lyon has crept back into this, and not very far back, that is Matthias Kraus now chasing into this picture. So these drivers now falling back into the clutches of Lyon and Kraus as they are beginning to pick up some steam. Will Lyon be able to do the unthinkable and come through with a couple of passes and end up back in position very close there as they go through the corkscrew? Lyon very late on the brakes there, riding that car out. You see a little bit of opposite lock. That's really one of the great improvements that this new tire has done for everyone, is given a little bit more time to get your foot down on the throttle and ride that tire out. And before, when the tires were overheating with the previous tire model, step on that throttle sometimes, even with a very conservative differential, and you go spinning around because it would just get too hot, and the differential didn't seem to protect it. But now you're able to accelerate a lot easier, ride that tire out if you need to. And I've noticed changes to braking. You can now trail brake where before you could not trail brake. And I mean, if you're changing that much, I mean, in addition, I've noticed the car settling better into corners where before it wouldn't quite settle. It's really changed these cars completely. It hugs the corners much more. That being said, it has, right off the bat, it did slow everyone a little bit as Will gets really close to the backside. He's on the button now, getting close to the backside of Cesar Manzato. Cesar really struggling with that final corner, giving Will a chance. Will going on the outside here. Can he get it done around the outside? Look out the left front side of the car. There he goes by. Cesar Manzato struggling on these tires, now falling behind Will Lyon, and Lyon has done it. He's put himself into position for another podium finish today. We'll have to see how this one finishes out, but the PMRL champ really showing well once again on Broadcast Friday, showing that he has everything that it takes potentially to challenge the likes of Adam Crane and others as some of these elite drivers of IndyCar out there. Looks like Will Lyon able to possibly reach and challenge those types of drivers. Not that you would exclude that, but he's not competing in those other series, so we don't get a chance to see that head-to-head. This is one of your first chances to see Will Lyon taking on these drivers like Adam Crane on broadcast. You get to see these drivers go head-to-head. So Lyon will need to get around Moritz Hengelhop if he wants to have any chance at second place today. That may be easier said than done. So we can see Andreas Eick pulling it into the pits for, I believe, the final stop today, as we've got 23 to go. Andrew Marquez. I've not been talking enough about Andrew, but unfortunately Andrew's had a difficult day, I think, battling with a slightly damaged race car. Laszlo Szabo, yep, 11th place, up 8 spots today, and drop back a couple here, now sitting in the pits, but doing his best. The driver we haven't been talking a whole lot about, but it's Dennis Fritz in 7th spot. And I hope you're enjoying the broadcast out there as we get close to 20 laps to go. Hengelhop and Cesar Manzato, Matthias Kraus, all three now in the pits. But this broadcast that you're watching, of course, is in ultra high definition 4K resolution. And if it's a little stuttery, I apologize. We're doing everything we can to figure out how to make it as smooth as possible, but it's pretty cutting edge. As far as I know, we are truly the only broadcasting team presenting in actual 4K resolution, 3840 by 2160. A lot of other teams presenting in other resolutions, including 2K and 1080p 60 frame. But we're doing 4K 60p here, trying to give you the best possible picture and the closest view of all of these drivers. What did we just see here? Moritz Hengelhop has no nose on that car. That is because, let's see, did it happen while leaving the pits? We don't have a note that shows us the actual incident. Hengelhop exiting the pits, spinning out there. You know, I did that the other day as well. Let's see if it just over... And that is exactly what happened to me and my teammate in our Indy Elite race. It was completely unprecedented. We had never spun the tires there. And that exact same thing happened to us where we got it loose and almost got it into the wall. Unfortunately for Hengelhop, that takes him out of a very well-deserved second spot. And I believe, unfortunately, we've lost Moritz. That is a shame. So, I'm not sure if Moritz has dropped out, but yeah, not showing up on screen. Back to the action, though. Will Lyon finally making that pit stop. Last stop of the day. See the camera pan over to Adam Crane, your leader, who retake the lead of this race. Just 20 to go here, and it is essentially Adam Crane's race to win. And I think this, we can pretty well safely say this is going to cement the championship should he end up in a win here today. Now, if he had finished, 20th, I might say there's some sort of weird, complicated math that I don't understand that might get somebody else into place where they could take home the championship trophy. But so now Will Lyon exiting the pits, not having quite the same difficulty. And I mean, I'm willing to accept that both I and my teammate made a rookie mistake leaving the pits, you know, spinning up our tires on cold tires or something. But it was just odd that it coincidentally happened, and there it catching out Hengelhopt. And honestly, we don't know how many more drivers, because we don't necessarily see all of them go through their issues. But nevertheless, let's go through the field and where we're at right now. So we've got Adam Crane out in front by 24.8 seconds. Almost coming up on having a full pit stop, covering second place Will Lyon. Gonna note that Robin Glennick's having another moment here. Michigan-based driver. Oh, spinning right there in front of some of the leaders. That was Matthias Kraus and Andreas Eick getting through. Christian Otarola, so fortunate not to make contact. Once again, it's kind of like the broadcast. I don't want to call it a broadcast curse, but Rob, you got to prove me wrong, because it just seems like every time we want to get the camera focused on you, Rob, and show off a top 5 finish for you. It's just, we don't get a chance to do that, but hopefully next week at Long Beach, Rob will get another great race in. We'll get a chance to focus the camera on him a little bit more. It's been a great competitor in a lot of different series. And so we work back through the field here. Here's Will Lyon in second place. You know him well by now, the PMRL champ, iRacing Endurance LMS champion from LMP1. That time, Adam Crane setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:08.11. Nowhere close to the 2021 record, but fastest lap thus far. So third place right now, we've got Valentin Hamare in third there. He's been a fantastic driver today, as high as second, and then suffering a little bit in the last stint. Cesar Manzato here in fourth. Manzato fan club was going crazy there for a minute, getting as high as second, once again drifting back. And Jesper Orman stopping by in the chat room, undercover a little bit. Pleasure to have you dropping by. Thank you, Jesper. And hope you're enjoying this one out there. It's a 17 to go. Watching the Masters at work, I'd say that I was shocked to see 2 champions in first and second, but I am not. I mean, I guess the best keep getting better. And that's kind of the story that we've got right now with Adam Crane, Will Lyon in first and second. Cesar Manzato right now in this sandwich between Hamare and Otarola. These 3 drivers very closely matched today. Executing very well. Have a couple of notes. Andreas Eick having another off track for a moment. Bringing it back on just a couple of seconds later. You still see him back there, so I don't think that was very devastating to his effort. Rafael Creek going off track and bringing it back on just a moment later. We jump on board with Manzato in the 3 car here. Manzato part of that club, showing that racing doesn't just belong to the teenagers and 20s. Kind of representing, I hate to say myself, I feel like I'm an old driver sometimes in this series. At the end of my 30s here, looking at 40. But Manzato's got me covered by quite a few years, and honestly, he's outperforming me. So guess I have somebody to look up to now. You know, there's quite a few great older drivers. And so many great gentleman drivers, clean drivers, experienced. I think that's one of the things that you pick up as you drive in iRacing, and of course in real life too. It's just more enjoyable, honestly. It's just more enjoyable to race clean and everybody pull off their passes successfully. You see Valentin working his way through traffic now. Beautiful machine. Great liveries that we're seeing out here. Racer Store. I don't know that one. I think it says TM Racer Store. I imagine that's his personal sponsor. Either way, looks awesome. Oh, Sim Racer Store. There you go. On one of the side pods. So MRA getting some good quality broadcast time here, showing off those sponsors. Manzato also got a raft of sponsors on board that car. It's like Alex on board the car. And of course, you see the North Sim Racing team on the rear wing. Looks like Hamare now kind of walking away a little bit. Almost a second ahead now of Manzato. Otarola still hanging tight back here in fifth spot, but possibly we'll have something to say before the end of this one. We still do have 14 laps to go. Did have a note that just a moment ago Hamare dipping a wheel again, but it looks like everything is back under control. So as these drivers kind of straighten out, we'll take a look at some of the other drivers. Andreas Ike, of course, qualified a couple of positions up, but has just been hanging on. You know, once again, that 5th, 6th, 7th spot seems to be pretty familiar to Ike. And then Fritz back here in 8th. Marquez has now gotten up into 9th, so that's going to help the second place defense. And I believe it's actually supposed to be Season 2 at the bottom where it says Indy Open, because Season 3 was just completed. And I know Marquez did finish well in the Indy Open out there this last season. I think he was 4th in the points. So Marquez, the American, currently the top running American in the field right now, but also one of those Americans who is making a name for himself around iRacing. Laszlo Szabo now 9 positions up in 10th spot. It's a beautiful car, as you can see. That chrome and black. Love the chrome that they introduced here just a couple of, about a year ago, or a couple of years ago. And they've just evolved it a little bit since then. It's really gotten cool. Just like in real life, how they can play with that chrome. Fabian Massey having a couple of issues today. We were reading a couple of off tracks, but Fabian, it's just the 15 car, technically says he's going to get iRating for completing this race in this current position, so just wants to finish this one up, get the maximum amount of points. Robin Glenix, well, he's kind of salvaged a couple of mistakes that he's made, still hanging in 12th, which is 3 spots better than he qualified, but again, it's one of those things that Rob, I think, is really trying to improve the road course performances. The more that he can do that, the higher he'll end up in these rankings at the end of the season. Dylan Reisel, saw him struggle a couple of laps ago when he was running with the leaders, but other than that, he's been putting in great lap times. His best lap in the 109, so definitely top 10 or so pace today. And looks like he's, I want to say that's his team, GTSRL Indy. Have to look them up. And of course, I encourage everybody who's running in the series to contact me, get in touch, either Discord, send me a message on YouTube. Of course, I'm also on iRacing. Just send me a message, get in touch. And we do have a driver information form that you can fill out. Give us some more information about yourself and your team, etc., and make sure that we get all of that info straight for you. And if you do any amount of IndyCar iRacing, we want to know about you so that we can get that info right. There you saw Laura Gearhart, another driver that you see in so many different, participating in so many different races around iRacing. That very familiar green coffee machine. So special to us up here in the Seattle, Washington area. There you got Raphael Creek in the Team Penske machine as Will Lyon went flying around. We never got Moritz Hengelhop back out on the track, so our camera stopped for that moment. But unfortunate for Moritz Hengelhop here, as who is that having a problem? There appears to be an incident. That's Dennis Fritz and Andrew Marquez slowing, and Crane coming to an absolute stop, waiting for that one to play out. Let's see how that looked from Fritz's point of view. This is Dennis Fritz on the inside, or sorry, on the outside at the corkscrew, and Marquez can't quite get it slowed down in time, makes contact. See if we can watch that again. On board from Marquez, and there you see Fritz come flying around the outside. It looks like just basically a racing incident. Not much could be done there. Meantime, Adam Crane getting right around. Let's see if we can go back and see it one more time from Adam Crane's point of view as he approaches this situation. The two drivers, this is worst case scenario. If you're Adam Crane, two drivers, two lap cars, or two cars that are being lapped, crashing in front of you. But that was at the time 4 positions, so those drivers, of course, every single right in the world to fight for position, regardless of whether that's in front of the leader or who that's in front of. But nevertheless, that is not what you want to see. Let's have another note. Gearhart, perhaps just dipping a wheel. Indeed, dipping a wheel there on exit. One of those easy to do things. And Szabo here having a moment. Looks like he was trying to follow pretty closely behind Marquez and just loops it. You know, that turn in snaps oversteer. I mean, it can certainly happen with this new tire thing, but I'm just saying that's something that used to happen with the old tire all the time. That was a big problem. They just get overheated, and all of a sudden you just could not hold grip on those tires. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who's got the grip today. Who's got the grip pretty much every week. If you want the grip, you go talk to this man. Adam Crane from Canada. He just, I think he has little kernels of grip in his pocket, and he just sort of throws them out there on the track as he needs them. But in this open setup series, which the IndyCar iRacing series is, take a look back here at one of our best battles happening on the track at Hamare and Oterola just behind, Manzato and Kraus all trying to take this third spot from Hamare, who's been has been an excellent defender today, that's for sure. But this is an open series, and so if you're Adam Crane, you have the ability to really finesse that car down to your driving style and make sure that you're in winning championship contention each and every week. You don't have to deal with the fixed series like we saw yesterday in our very successful Indy Fixed broadcast, but that series all about making do with what you've got. And I'm not saying that isn't a strategy, and I'm not saying that you know, you always end up with exactly what you want in terms of a setup each and every week. Sometimes, I mean, speaking for myself, many weeks we are still grinding and grinding and grinding all the way up until race time, trying to find little improvements. But as you see, Hamare here with possibly Oterola looking to make a move. These drivers obviously have these cars dialed in pretty much the way that they'd like, and there is a move from Oterola that we were hoping we were not going to see. Fortunately, you saw it live here with back to Hamare, and, well, you be the judge. Looks like a little bit of net code. Just by a couple of feet. Let's see if we can tell once again. We jump to super slow-mo. There. Appears as though Hamare getting a little help around from Otarola, and you know, that's just one of those things. We saw it in yesterday's fixed race where drivers can maybe be a little aggressive and force other drivers into different positions that maybe they don't particularly appreciate. In this case, getting tapped and spun out, but again, it looked like netcode by about a foot or so. And so, you know, the way that iRacing Official Series works, you can protest, certainly, but there will be no forthcoming penalties, and there are no live stewards, so there's nobody to say stop and go penalty if that would be something that would be awarded in that situation, which I'm not here to pass judgment nor say who's at fault, if there is fault to be blamed. But if it were, yeah, that's the difference between, say, an official series like this and, for example, the PMRL or the US IndyCar League, which we're broadcasting on Sundays at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So in those series, you do have live stewards. You can make changes on the fly. You could, for example, assess a black flag, or you could assign a time penalty afterwards, but none of that happens in official iRacing, so a lot of times you have to work that into your strategy and assess who you're racing against. And Cesar Manzato here trying to get that third spot now from Christian Otarola. Manzato would have been watching all of that go down from behind and is probably going to be extra nervous about trying to pass Otarola here, but really Manzato's going to have to do that if he wants to take third spot from Marquez and keep it. He's really got to try to fight for anything he can get, and it does look as though Will Lyons' second place performance that he's holding on to thus far is going to be good enough to stick, assuming he can hang on for 5 more laps. So that is another spot that Manzato would have wanted to get if he wanted to have any sort of a shot at taking over second place from Matthias Kraus in the championship. But we continue on here and watch this one unfold. It's hard to believe just a little over one race is remaining of this season. Started just several months ago on this path. Back in, I believe it was May, our first race. It's been so great to get to know a lot of these drivers and see them competing week in and week out. As the IndyCar iRacing series, really the start of VirtualRacing.Network. We just decided the first week I had been looking at doing some broadcasting and just wanted to try it out and see if we can make it work, and just something I was thinking about for the future. Sure enough, finally found the right components that it takes and just decided to start broadcasting week 1, and it's worked out great. So many great competitors, so many great races. And again, just a pleasure to watch a lot of these masters really showcase their skills here on VirtualRacing.Network. And of course now, VirtualRacing.Network going from just broadcasting this series, then picking up US IndyCar League and adding their programming to the network. We've already done an entire season with them. Season 11, now on to Season 12, which you can catch on Sundays, and then picking up the Prime Meridian Racing League as well. And they're on Wednesdays, starting once again in October. You're looking at the man who won the championship and is now taking a big fight to Adam Crane, at least taking some of that gap out of Adam Crane's pocket. Adam Crane down to 22nd gap, but that's still quite an accomplishment over a very skilled field. Nevertheless, you know, Will's going to look at where he started today back in 9th and say, you know, it could have done maybe could have started a little higher, and maybe could have possibly had something for Adam today. We'll see whether that can come true next race at Long Beach. It's always a question mark. Who's going to show up and race in these races? We really don't know. And that nobody ever tells us. It's not like they're like, hey. I mean, Justin Petschauer, he's been keeping me pretty informed. He's not able to make the race today. It's babysitting, I believe. And, you know, real life keeping you... And speaking of which, I'm just going to throw this out there. Hey, Justin Petschauer, can you hear me in our booth?
Howdy there, sir. Yes, I can.
He is there after all. Let me turn up your volume a little bit. So, Justin, what do you think in this race today? Adam Crane on another march. Are you babysitting and watching from your couch?
No. Another relative of mine came over and switched off so I could watch the rest of this here. Adam Crane has been putting on one heck of a clinic today here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He's on his way towards claiming the second leg of the California Triple Crown. Next week is going to be the biggest challenge of them all to see if he can still maintain that points lead, but as well as claim the California Triple Crown by sweeping all three races in said Triple Crown series. Sonoma, Laguna Seca here, jinx aside, and next week at Long Beach. Long Beach, though, from what I hear, is going to be a stacked field. Rumor has it, a couple of eNASCAR Coke Series drivers will be making an appearance at Long Beach. From what I've heard, Casey Kerwin is one because he loves the beach. And a number of other guys as well. I'd have to find out who else. But Will Lyon is doing a fantastic job in only his second race here in the iRacing IndyCar Series. Of course, as you know, as he said last week, the car was very similar to the Dallara LMP2 that you see in Endurance Championship and even the IMSA Series here on iRacing.
You know, I love what you just said there, Justin, and thanks for watching and thanks for checking in with us here in the booth. It's a lot of fun. But it is the final lap for Adam Crane, and you're right. He could be on his way to sweeping all three of these rounds. That would be so exciting. And, of course, Will Lyon there now clipping it into just 18 seconds back from Adam Crane. But tell you what, Adam's going to take this checkered flag as he does on our screen. And, Justin, this was another masterclass by Adam. Will's now putting up numbers that's looking like he could chase him down, but Adam is just unbelievable behind the wheel of this IR18, and he won the championship in the Open Series. Now he's won this championship. He's taken it, even if it's not official yet. It's hard to think if he is unstoppable, and yet we've seen those moments where it is. I'll be interested to see next week if we get a stacked field like that. Can anyone take the fight actually to Adam Crane? Because he's shown well at the beach, and he shows well every single week. So what do you think, Justin? You think maybe we'll have somebody else possibly in victory lane next week?
I'm going to put my money right now. I'm going to place a bet. I'm going to say Casey Kerwin's going to give Adam Crane a run for his money.
Well, there you go. Predicted by Justin Petschauer right here. He couldn't race, but he's predicting things live on broadcast. Pleasure having you with us. He's predicting Kerwin with the win next week at Long Beach. And thank you so much for stopping by, Justin. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you in the race next week.
Yeah. Figured I'd finally get a chance to pop in and see how the stuff was going. And sure enough, I've seen a couple of guys that tried to think they were Alex Zanardi and it not work out for him. It's like, that's not how you pull off the move. Exactly.
Yeah, I made mention that one of them looked like they were doing the reverse Alex Zanardi, but it's not easy to keep control on these cars out there, and through the corkscrew, it's a tough one. I'm not one to pass judgment on anybody in their car control, but it is cool to see that happening. And again, the real life car is going to be out there here really shortly, and just so cool, Justin, to be able to cover this great race with some of the absolute best iRacing IndyCar drivers. Adam Crane, your victor here at Laguna Seca. Will Lyon, the PMRL champ, bringing it home in second with a fantastic run through the field. That was just so much fun to watch him make passes and pressure drivers. See Adam Crane there doing some awesome donuts. Burning it up on the start-finish straight.
He's definitely going to need to try and save that motor as best he can, because he's going to need to use it for Long Beach next week.
Oh, one of the beautiful things. You get a free motor every single week, of course, here in Simland. But yes, I don't think at this point Adam Crane cares. He could probably just show up and park next week, and he's got the championship. So he'd probably say, torch that thing. We'll let him speak to us directly here in a minute. And you see the rest of the running order there on screen. Some of the important things to note: Cesar Manzato finishing in 4th. Great run from Cesar, no matter how you look at it, but he did lose a spot on the day, and I'm sure he would have wanted to take 3rd or 2nd to get those points. Very, very valuable at this point in the season. And also, you notice Hamare having a fantastic race. Valentin coming out of nowhere pretty much. The 8th rated car, and he was running up in 2nd for a lot of this race. So great to see. Great driver like him coming through. Andrew Marquez having a difficult day, one of your championship contenders, but pulling it back at the end, salvaging something out of this race, getting a top 10, getting 9th place. And again, if you have damage, if the day's not going great for you, that's what you got to do to get that championship and possibly get up there into the top and stay in the top 3 in the championship. Matthias Kraus, 2nd place in the championship, another championship day in 5th. He looked like he had the speed maybe to be a little bit higher, but that is where he ended up today, and you can see the rest and, as I mentioned, where they finish there on your screen. So we'll take a look over into our Discord booth, Justin, and see who we have. Looks like we've got our 2nd place finisher, Will Lyon, able to join us. Hey, Will, can you hear me?
Hey Trevor, how you doing?
There he is. I'm doing brilliant, my friend. How are you doing today? Did you get the sweat off your brow? And how the heck did you get from way back there in 9th place all the way up to 2nd? It was a beautiful thing to watch. Congratulations.
Yeah, just Trevor. That was a lot of fun. Those first 2 stints, just getting stuck behind people, fuel saving, waiting for them to make a mistake, and just sort of pouncing when I could, and trying to make the pit stops as short as possible to try and overcut them in the pit lane as well. It was and then all of a sudden, final stint, I'm all on my own in 2nd place, and I don't really know how it happened. Sounds like one of the guys got caught up in the pit lane, hitting the back of someone, I think. So that was one easy position, but the rest of them, it was really, really good fun out there tonight.
Well, I want to take you back to earlier. You were coming out of the pits, I believe, after your very first stop, and Matthias Kraus was coming around and was on hot tires. You crossed over Matthias Kraus, and then Matthias and you had a great battle, and it seemed like you and Matthias were going at it there for several laps. That must have been pretty hairy coming out with cold tires and having a heavy breathing Matthias Kraus on hot tires behind you.
Yeah, it was crazy. As you say, I was on the cold tires and I just couldn't get the car to rotate at all. And I did think about using some push to pass to try and stay ahead of him, but I knew Matthias had some really good pace, probably the same pace as me, so I was quite happy. I mean, I wanted to try and defend the position, but it wasn't a disaster if he got back ahead, which he did. And I just stayed behind, I don't know, maybe 10 laps or so, sort of fuel saving, just trying to put a bit of pressure on him, and eventually managed to sneak through and then sort of increase the gap, and then I was able to pull up to the 2nd, 3rd and 4th up ahead, and it was great fun racing against Matthias. I had a great battle with him last week as well at Road Atlanta, where again we were just like identical pace, so really good, and no contact or anything. It's just good hard racing, really.
Good hard racing. It looked like great hard racing between 2 excellent competitors. Of course, Matthias up there in the 2nd place in the championship, and you dropping in here for a couple of weeks. Is this this seems to fit you like a glove, and honestly, you were chipping into Crane's lead there at the end. Crane, of course, not using any push to pass, for some reason, perhaps just trying to rub salt in the wounds of everyone. But you used all of your push to pass. Nevertheless, getting up there down to, I mean, you chipped like 10 seconds off of his lead. Is this maybe a series, in addition, of course, to the PMRL, that you might have circled on your calendar for 2022 as the series comes back next year?
Yeah, it's really tough to make a decision, to be honest, because I really like driving the LMP2 as well. And now that the European Endurance Series is back with the 6-hour races, and we've got the IMSA Endurance as well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm really enjoying this car, though. I enjoyed it last season, and it's really fun discovering these new tires. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do, but I'm just going to drive as much as I can and see what happens. But yeah, I think there might have been an instant up ahead, which got me maybe 4 or 6 seconds on Adam. I was nowhere near his pace, but it was fun trying to get a little bit closer to him. When I got into second place and I saw him 26 seconds up ahead, I thought, let's try and keep that as low as possible and make it look less embarrassing. But he's on a different level, Adam.
He is, of course, the champ, not only in this series, but now recently crowned champ of the Open Series as well. It's so cool to have a benchmark like Adam out there. And not only that, but he's the #1 car in the race. So pleasure to have him bringing his iRating in here and giving everybody, including you. I mean, you picked up, according to our prediction software, 68 iRating for finishing in second. Not that you need that extra iRating, but still, the fact that the strength of field getting so high here during the race, it actually pays for you. And Christian Otarola finishing in third, even Adam Crane with his huge 55.01 getting 50 iRating. It pays to actually race in these races and do well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm really happy to see the strength of field so high, and we didn't quite get the same numbers as last week at Road Atlanta, but still a decent turnout. And yeah, I mean, if people want to come and get iRating, they've got to work for it. I tend to hate getting iRating. I want to be as low as possible. So in the special events, I get a nice comfortable split for my level, but it's not to be at the minute on a bit of a positive streak. So I'll have to find a series to go and lose that all in. So maybe some GT3s, that will do it.
Well, I think everybody hopefully can follow you. Do you have like a Twitter that people can follow you with or anything in that nature?
Yeah, it's BrakeCheck 101. There isn't much serious content though. It's mainly just shilling Project Cars 3, as you know, Trevor. So yeah, and if anyone wants a free code, just give me a shout and see what I can do.
Oh, that's quite an offer. Thank you so much, Will, for that. And of course, the big news from Project Cars 4, you've got leaves that create shadows now. So it's exciting times over in Project Cars world. We saw the image released this week, and everything continues to get better and better over in that sim as well. So congratulations with your work over there with that team in Neon, and we'll continue to watch you develop as driver. And then, of course, in October, we'll see you in the PMRL. So are we going to get a chance to see you next week in the Long Beach race?
I certainly will try and show up. Yeah, I really enjoy Long Beach. I'm really enjoying this car. So yeah, it's a shame the tires today just seem to be alternates. For some reason, the primaries weren't working, whereas they did last week at Road Atlanta. I have no idea why. I don't really understand the car yet, but yeah, a bit of a shame. But hopefully Long Beach should, kind of a bit of a mix of strategy again. That would be good. But no, I'll certainly be practicing on Project Cars this week at Long Beach. Don't worry about that. And I'll hopefully be back next week.
Well, their Long Beach is an excellent quality one. They've had Long Beach, I think, longer than iRacing. Well, obviously longer than iRacing has had it. So, yeah. Anyway, enjoy your practicing over there, Project Cars. Enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you next Friday. And in the meantime, congratulations on, of course, winning the PMRL championship. And anybody who wants to compete in PMRL, just head on over to iRacing.com, look up PMRL, and apply to the league next October. It's going to be Will Lyon having to defend so many different drivers, including his arch nemesis, Alex Salmon. And that should be quite interesting. Thanks for joining us, Will. We'll talk to you hopefully again next week.
Thanks, Trevor. Catch you next time.
Brilliant having Will join us not only for the race, but a second place finish for the champ. And now we get a chance to talk with our winner of today, winner of this series last season, winner of the first 2 rounds of the West Coast Swing, the West Coast Crown Championship, as Justin Petschauer put it. Adam Crane, congratulations on today's victory. Well earned. Great donuts there at the end. We've run out of superlatives. You just did it again, and you looked like you were teaching a masterclass. Congratulations, Adam.
Thanks so much. It was a fairly uneventful race. Just looking to sort of build a gap and just ride it out to the end. Just not make any mistakes, and yeah, here we are.
Just not make any mistakes. And I mentioned that over and over and over again in the broadcast, because it gets so easy to look at a driver like yourself who's just, I mean, we watch the onboards and you're just on rails. They just assume you're out there on a Sunday drive just turning left and turning right, and it's so easy to do. But one tiny mistake with your muscle memory, just getting it a couple of inches too deep into a corner or what have you, and it can all go away so quickly. Adam, you were perfect today, essentially, and we even watched. Now, tell us about that really scary moment that came just in the last stint, where it looked like it was Dennis Fritz and Andrew Marquez almost coming together at the corkscrew. That must have been your heart in your throat.
A little bit, not really, because as soon as I came up on them, I knew the situation where I had like a 28-second lead to, I think it was Will behind, so I could afford to burn some of the gap, and I didn't want to interfere with their battle because I think they were 8th and 9th. So I was hoping they could sort of sort it out amongst each other before I got there, but a little bit of a battle between them, so I essentially just backed off a little bit, gave them a little bit more room. And then I saw as they were going up the hill, they were side by side, getting a little close. I think there was some contact there probably too, and I knew that it was gonna just meet up at the top of the corkscrew. So I just left lots of room and let them figure it out. And sure enough, a little bit of contact, a little bit of smoke, and the path was made for me. So yeah, I mean, it seemed worse than it was. The hardware issues I had there towards the end of the race were a lot more nerve-wracking.
Oh, you had hardware issues?
Yeah, my wheelbase has been acting up for some reason. When I say for some reason, I mean I'm pretty sure what the reason. I know what the reason is. There's some kind of internal issue with it, which is causing the wheel to not shift or randomly activate. So I'm gonna have to just do a little bit more investigation with that. I've been in conversation with Bennett to try to resolve it, but I might have to send it in to get fixed. So yeah, as I was coming out of the last corner, one of the buttons activated on the wheel, and that's sort of been my signal that the wheel is starting to fail for whatever reason. So I spent the last like 6 laps just taking it super easy and watching all my inputs, and even not downshifting in a couple places just because I didn't want to attempt any fate.
That's amazing to hear. Obviously, I guess it just further shows that we're all, no matter how well we've got everything dialed in, we're all subject to things crashing on us and not working properly. And of course, you always see real life IndyCar drivers, the same thing. Will Power recently comes to mind with his engine shutting down on him on the grid and during the middle of a race. And so, I mean, but that's what makes you a champion, Adam. You managed to make the most of what you've got, even if you've got a down situation. Power, even your hardware failing won't keep you out of victory lane. and hey, you know, while I know we're going to wait till next week, but I mean, it is unofficial, but you're essentially out of touch. Congratulations on winning this championship. I don't even think you have to show up next week to get the championship, but on behalf of VirtualRacing.Network, it's been a pleasure covering you all season long. You've been excellent behind the wheel, and no surprise, you get to add this Champions Trophy to your trophy case. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it definitely feels good to win another one of these full-length IndyCar season series that iRacing puts on. Was really happy with the result last season. This season's been a little bit more dominant than perhaps I would have liked, but certainly I was a little more pleased with how Road Atlanta went, considering the point situation. Not having to super stress about that, and I hope that iRacing puts it on again next season. I can't imagine they won't. and it's been great to be along for the ride with you guys broadcasting the race and bringing big publicity to the series and IndyCar and iRacing in particular. It's a great car, especially with the new updates, so hopefully we can see a bunch more people driving around.
I hope so as well. And again, this does seem to have that effect of bringing more drivers together, more participation. So as we go forward, hopefully people getting excited about 2022 already. But I've heard from Justin Petschauer just a moment ago. Looks like some NASCAR drivers and some others trying to possibly gang up on you next week at Long Beach. You like Long Beach. I think you've done quite well there over the past. You looking forward to next week? Just one final showdown and get this one in the books?
Yeah, I love Long Beach. I haven't tested it yet with these new tires, but I'm sure if it's anything like the experience that I had testing and running here and some testing I did at Barber, then it's going to be an absolute ripper of a race. So super excited to conclude the season on a high, and if we have some more competition, then I'm all for that too. Hopefully we see someone like a Casey Kerwin or any of the other Peggy guys in there.
That would be amazing.
Well, to answer your question, Crane, from what I've heard, Kerwin said he is planning on running Long Beach Friday, so
I hope he streams it and we put on a good show.
I hope so too.
Well, we'll get coverage of all of it right here, live, uninterrupted, as always, on VirtualRacing.Network. Adam, you're a fabulous champion. This makes 2 in a row for you. You've held off all competitors. Some great ones have come along this season with even higher iRating than you, but you've taken all challengers and you've come out on top. Again, congratulations, not only on this championship, but also your Indy Open championship. It's a good time to be Adam Crane behind the wheel of an IndyCar right now, and we just look forward to all of the other good things to come from you for the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
My pleasure. Adam Crane, the champion, the double champion, and twice champion now in this series, joining us from victory lane after doing donuts on the track here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. You watched it live here on VirtualRacing.Network on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Allows you to chat with us, and you'll get notified of all of our future upcoming broadcasts, including something I'm going to announce right now live. You're going to want to watch just after this. We'll make the announcement official, but we will start covering this season starting tomorrow. Watch here for the time slot, but we will begin covering the IMSA Haggerty Racing Series. Top split coverage coming your way right here, VirtualRacing.Network, middle of tomorrow, Saturday. So great to add that to our ongoing channel lineup of programming as the IndyCar iRacing Series comes to a close here in 2021. So look for that announcement over on our Twitter and Facebook. And we'll see you tomorrow for that IMSA first race of 2021 Season 4. And then we'll see you on Sunday for the U.S. IndyCar League. So on behalf of myself and Justin Petschauer, great driver dropping by and saying hello, as well as all the competitors and the teams and everyone else involved with the IndyCar iRacing Series. Pleasure having you here, and we'll see you next week from Long Beach. Same time, same channel. Until then, bye-bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. See you tomorrow, actually, for the IMSA race. Bye-bye.